Whitney. Please stop me if I go over. I have pages upon pages of notes, and I tried to condense them, so just let me know. I want to start by saying we obviously don't have enough time to go through all of the amazing work that you have done that I would like to highlight because obviously it's immense, and this has been a great conference. So I will say what was missing because they asked us to do that, but know that you had much more amazing content than anything missing. For parents, I thought parents were really missing from this conversation. I think, if they're not spending time at school, they're going to be spending a lot of time with parents, hopefully. And I think we really need to address how we can equip parents to respond well when their children do come to them with bullying problems. I feel like a lot of them, they don't want their kids to come to them with bullying problems because that means that their kid isn't popular, which means they may have done something wrong. And I think it all ends up going back to parents finding their identity in their kids. And so I think we really need to start figuring out how we can equip parents to respond well when their kids do come to them with these issues, and not viewing it as a rite of passage issue, because that means no one's taking responsibility for this, and these are real feelings that these children are experiencing. So I think we need to stop taking the lazy way out of considering it that, and I think that's something that schools can possibly help with, because obviously you're going to have the best access to those parents. We were talking at lunch yesterday, and one of the presenters brought up Cheer Mom, and I thought that was hilarious because that's like what we're dealing with here as far as the identity issue goes. We're watching on TV these cheer moms and these dance moms, and we're viewing it as entertainment, but what it is these moms putting all of everything into their kids because that's the status that they're wanting as parents. And I think parents are a huge issue when it comes to bullying because they're encouraging their kids to act out on the other cheer girl who might be captain against them. And I think that's something that we definitely need to start addressing. I also think, parents are key to helping kids establish relationships. That's the first place kids are going to experience love, and if they don't get these skills at home, then they're not going to be able to take them into schools to make that one friend or the relationships that they need. I also think parents, they're the ones who can take these kids to organizations. They can take them to sports and 4-H and church and use that time to build them up. Not all parents have the luxury of being able to take their kids to all those extracurricular activities. And, I experienced that at the first part of my life, and then fortunately my mom was able to eventually take me to all of those activities. But to the parents who, don't have that luxury, I think we need to encourage them and tell them that's okay. Go home after you're done from a long day at work and just love on your child to where your child is confident enough that they don't feel like they have to belittle other children. And I think we definitely need to just support parents around both sides of the parents around that issue. I also think I loved how you brought up the sibling aggression. I think that's extremely important because how a child feels at home is how they're going to go out into the world. And if they are loved and confident at home, then they're going to go out and do the same thing at school. I remember my parents, I have 3 younger sisters, so fortunately we always got along pretty well, but had my parents not forced us to do so, we may not have, but we're best friends now, and it doesn't matter if one of them goes out to school and something bad happens because they know they're going to go home and they're going to come back to 3 other best friends. And I think if we can instill that into families, that could significantly help them as they're going out into these schools and having to deal with these issues. I also think teachers were missing from this discussion. We addressed the school and the policy side of it, but what it comes down to is the people who can, besides the administrators and the funding aspect, the teachers are the ones who are going to truly address this problem. And, we've already established that kids can't learn when they're distressed. So if you don't care about bullying, you should at least care about your test scores, and that's going to be an issue. I think we need to also address teachers who promote bullying. And I say that, and I also want to say we need to encourage the teachers who are not promoting bullying. I think I got to see two sides of it at the school I attended. We have a teacher who unconditionally loves all the students, and all of the students unconditionally love her, and she's there for all of the students, whether they're the homecoming queen or they are the person who has nowhere to go at lunch, like you mentioned, leaving the door open for lunch. She's that teacher that gives these kids confidence. However, my school had a basketball coach who was still in his high school complex of only acknowledging the jocks and the popular kids at school. And that has to be addressed, because these are, what your parents and what your teachers and your coaches are thinking about you is you're somehow going to self-identify with that. So we cannot be having teachers and coaches being okay with bullying kids in addition to the students who are doing so. I think the best way to do that is to equip these teachers with their actual hardcore research that was presented. Showing them these two brains and showing them, oh, you have the power to make this brain grow. Like, love and support these students, and you can do that. And definitely, I loved the part of the no drama queens, because it's easy for teachers to say, well, we're not going to have, she's just a drama queen, or the principal to say that, but that's just an easy way for them to not to have to address the problem. Obviously, that drama queen is feeling something, and if they don't address that, then that's just one more person who's getting bullied. I think for the youth, we talked a lot about how youth want to rebel and everything, and obviously a lot of them do, and it's true. But I think even more so than not wanting to rebel, they don't want to look unintelligent, and they desire respect. And so when we're tailoring these messages, I think we need to start taking the approach to equipping them with the stats that we just heard, letting them know that when I am a cheerleader and I'm like bullying this other cheerleader, it's because I'm wanting her position. And if we start to address that and show students, like, this is what you're actually doing and we know why you're doing it, that's embarrassing for them. That would be embarrassing for me, and that would cause me to not want to do that. I think that can make a huge difference. And kids want to know these stats. Kids want to know what's actually going on. And if we equip them with that knowledge, then that might actually take a totally different spin than just say no to it. I think we need to also address what bullying is outside of the jock and nerd complex. Obviously, that's pretty easy to identify if you're seeing that, but it's harder to identify what bullying is when it is two girls on the same social class bullying one another. It's a lot harder to identify that, and a lot of times, to be honest, I don't think people do. I think we label it as drama, at least for our age, as we mentioned on the PowerPoint. I think that's called drama, but in reality, that can become bullying too, and I think we need to identify that. I also think the one friend, again, I say it, it's so critical. I 100% believe in that, and I think we can best do that through putting kids in organizations like 4-H, FFA, Beta, boys and girls mentoring, all of that. Those are the things that are going to provide those students with a friend. And even if they don't have a friend at their school, they're at least going to be able to know that they have a friend in that organization one county over, and they can text and talk and Facebook with that person all they want. I think that's really important. I also think the language is extremely important that we talked about. That's something I think everyone here would agree with is something a part of middle school, and it only carries over to stereotypes throughout high school. So I love that we're addressing that. I also think teen dating and victimization is huge. I don't know if we talked about that enough today, because for one, I don't know that we address it hardly at all. I know we address violence, but there's a lot outside of just a boyfriend beating a girlfriend too. And I think that's a huge issue right now, and I think that's something we need to work on. I have a friend who's my age, and I asked her, I was like, she's struggling with this issue. And I said, well, think about the best, relationship that you have in your life to model after. Is that the kind of relationship you have right now? And she's like, honestly, I don't have a good relationship to look to. And that was so disheartening, because how can I help her if she doesn't have that relationship to look to? So I think that's an important factor that we need to realize too. Like, these teachers can be showing these relationships, and even more easily, the people in these organizations like 4-H, when you have your extension educator, you can see that they have a good relationship. So we need to be showing teens what positive relationships look like and addressing this problem, because there is a lot of bullying. Messages that teens want to hear. I heard a couple of questions on that. I think, I kind of addressed that with the stats issue. I think they want to hear real, genuine messages. Kind of moving into social media with this too, because I know I'm running over all the time. But I think, Facebook is for juniors and seniors and college students. I think Twitter kind of fits all of the social media ages if they're that far into social media. And I think Instagram, Snapchat, Vine are for the younger generations. And so, or younger generations, I guess juniors and below as far as my sisters go. And, I don't use Instagram nearly like my little sisters do. I use Facebook. So I think that's definitely something, we kind of addressed today, but it's something that we need to keep in mind. Like, there are so many different media outlets that we need to be reaching out to, because there's so many different ages doing different things. In addition to that, pairing that with the messages that teens want to hear, I think Pinterest is a big one, and it never ceases to amaze me how many girls will pin like these quotes from Drake, which is a rapper if you don't know. And it's about Drake telling these girls that they're valued and they shouldn't have to wear makeup and they should be loved and all of this stuff. And sometimes that's crazy to me, but at the end of the day, like, that may be the only messages of someone telling them, oh, you deserve this, like, you deserve to be loved and everything. So I think, if you're doing your social media campaigns, like, don't discount that, because that is what people want to hear. And the more that we can make them believe, like Glenn was saying, as far as their self-confidence and their worth, I think it could be valuable for this message too. In addition, like, teaching kids what real relationships are, and that 37% of reciprocative, that's too low, and that's something that we can all do. I know I'm over time, so I'll end there, but thank you all so much.